So we're going ahead and get started here. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Duquesne University Small Business Development Center. Today's webinar is Unleash Your Business Potential, Can Coaching Help Your Business? And I'm joined by Christine Hughes, who is the Program Manager for Career Advancement at Duquesne University, and Libby Kavoulakis, who is a Business Success Coach. Before we get started with their presentation, I'm going to offer a very quick overview of some of the services at the Duquesne SBDC. So we are one of 1,000 SBDCs in the United States, and we are one of 16 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We're funded by the SBA, the state, and the university. That university being, of course, Duquesne, which is located just east of downtown Pittsburgh. If you have never been, it is a lovely campus. I spent much of my 20s at the university, so I highly recommend a walk through it, especially as the weather continues to improve. The school in which we are affiliated with at the university is the School of Business, the Palumbo Donahue School of Business, to be specific. We are a center of excellence in entrepreneurship, robotics, life sciences, and healthy workplace. And this is our mission: to empower entrepreneurs with the knowledge they need to start, grow, and prosper. And that is really what it is all about for us. Whether you are starting a business or growing a business, we are here to help. These are some of our services. I won't read through all of them for the sake of time, because I know we're eager to get started, but we offer business consultation and educational programs, such as the one that you are attending today. And this is our team. We have 7 consultants here. And myself, I'm the media and content specialist. I'm not a consultant, but let's see, I'm hearing some dinging. I'm wondering if someone is not able to get in.
It looks like they're coming in as I hear.
They are coming in?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I mean, I do have the waiting room disabled, but I just wanted to be sure. So this is our team. Like I mentioned, we have 7 regular business consultants here. A little bit more about the business consulting side of things. Anything from strategic planning to financial analysis. I'd also like to mention, because we are affiliated with Duquesne University, we have a great team of graduate assistants at our that work with us, and they do phenomenal market research, and I can speak to this personally. They really are exceptional students, but they're exceptional part-time workers for the SBDC as well. So that's a great resource that we have that other SBDCs don't always have access to, since not everyone is affiliated with the university. So we're very fortunate to have that. As far as our tech commercialization goes, and again, I won't read through everything here. If you want to have more information, of course, you can visit our website. But anything from fundraising to business planning to obtaining an SBIR or STTR grant, these are things in which that the SBDC can assist you with related to tech commercialization. And of course, our educational programs, things like First Step Business Essentials, which is a great webinar for entrepreneurs just starting out. Anything from social media related content, QuickBooks, financial statements. We always have an annual entrepreneurial growth summit. It was unfortunately canceled this year, but it has some very high caliber speakers. For example, the CEO of Howard Hanna Real Estate. Again, just as an example of some of the talent that we can bring in at that annual summit. Again, it was canceled this year, but be on the lookout for that next year. And of course, speaking of high caliber speakers, we have Christine Hughes and of course, Libby Kavoulakis. So we're very excited that they're here with us. Again, if you want any more information on the SBDC, here's our contact information. You can visit us at sbdc.duq.edu. And of course, I'd like to plug our various social media channels: Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, especially our YouTube channel. That is something that I work on very detailed, very hard. We have webinar replays. So if you enjoy this webinar, you want to see some of our other ones, we have them recorded there. They're saved there on YouTube. So thank you. And without further ado, I will turn things over to Christine and Libby.
Thank you, Jonathan. How is everybody today? Good?
Yes, good.
Great, great. I can't see too many faces. Most of you are off screen. So welcome, and I'm happy to be here today with Libby to present to you. Can everybody see my screen? Show it. Maybe
Yes.
thumbs up. Okay. I did put in chat some of the exercises that we're going to work on today. So if you want to pull up the chat, you can open those files and take a look at them as we're going through today's session. But as Jonathan said, we're here to talk to you about coaching and what coaching really is and how it can help you to grow your business. So we already talked about the SBDC, and I do hope that all of you, and maybe many of you already do use their services, but it is a great opportunity to have free consulting, someone to sit down and really look at growing your business. And as Jonathan mentioned, you know what the SBDC does, but we're going to talk today about coaching and how it aligns with consulting and maybe what the work that you're doing with the SBDC as well. Before we get started, I think there possibly could be some folks that are on the call who are interested in becoming a coach. And we do have a program at Duquesne. So I just wanted to throw it in here in case anybody's interested. It is an ICF training, and it does run from August to April every year. And there's more information on our website, or if you have questions, you can contact me and I can help answer any questions you might have there. So let's get started. I think Jonathan sort of introduced Libby, and I don't know if you want to say anything more about your background, Libby?
I am a former small business owner, so I relate very well to small businesses, but I was also an executive in a few international and national companies. And what you're going to find throughout this presentation is both Christine and I giving examples from our lived experiences. And that's one of the key terms in coaching that we'll get to later on. But what the focus really is of my practice is helping businesses make critical decisions, whether it's to grow, to close, to merge, or figure out bringing on a partner, whatever the crossroads you're at. My coaching practice is focused on getting you across that hurdle and setting up your business for its next phase of life.
And I love Libby's business name, Pivot, because if you're an entrepreneur, you know you're constantly pivoting, and that's a word we use all the time in the School of Business. Just a little bit more about myself. I've been with Duquesne University for over 25 years. I spent the first 25 years working at the Small Business Development Center as a business consultant, doing our training, as well as working with the entrepreneurs who came into our offices.
Okay, so this is not one of the webinars where you can sit back and sip coffee. We're going to make you work a little bit today. One of the keys to coaching is personal responsibility and understanding where you are now, where you want to go. So the Wheel of Life exercise was provided in the chat, so hopefully everyone has downloaded that. If not, I'm sorry, the Wheel of Life and the next wheel that we're going to work on were both in the chat, but if not, you could just draw this out and do this on your own time. We start with the personal attributes, which is the Wheel of Life. It tells you where your life is right now and where you want it to go. So it's just a snapshot for today. The importance is that who you are in life is who you are in business, right? So if you're highly involved, highly focused on your community in life, that's going to translate into your business. If you're a jerk in life, you're going to be a jerk in your business. You can't separate the two. So who you are is who your business is. And that's really where we want to focus to. But this is something you can do on your own time. And we're going to focus on the next one. The entrepreneur wheel is something that we put together specifically to address like what is important to an entrepreneur and what are the different areas to focus in. you may not align with the exact words, but the categories can be changed to fit whatever term you want to use. For instance, one that sticks out is the results. We included sales as well, but not all results are sales. You know, it could be number of employees, it could be units sold. You know, there's a lot of different results that you're looking for. Stay in business for 5 years or 10 years. So you make these categories what they mean to you, but they are headings that align with every entrepreneur and every business as just different areas to focus on. Now, usually you spend time doing this before your first coaching session. And the reason that you spend time on this is because it establishes the baseline of today. So on the next slide, we're going to show you how to fill it out and take the one that you have or just draw one quickly. And the black line is number one, draw a line for today. We put a scale of 1 to 10 in. 1 means it's there, 10 means I'm doing it so great, I've perfected it. And you kind of mark it where you think you are today. It's not scientific, it's not technical, but what we're looking at is how do you think you're operating in that box or in that pie slice today? And just go through each of them, and it's a connect the dot exercise, right? So you're just connecting the lines to get this weird fish shape that I seem to have determined. I don't know. Okay, so let's take a minute and do that. And while you're doing that, we'll talk a little bit more about some of these categories. You don't have to be doing all of them right now. Some of them may or may not be that important to you. Some may not be relevant to your business or the stage of business that you're in. And you'll see this on item number 2. Draw a line that is your ideal. And on this one, the red line illustrates that strategic planning is not important today in this hypothetical business. And where it is right now is where it needs to be. Much like the team development, there are no employees, there is no team, there's no people around, it's a solopreneur. So team development is not a priority, other things are priorities. So the ideal as of today is met. You know, remember that there's no right or wrong answer here. This is for you and your eyes only, but it's an important exercise because it really gets you to see visually the difference and the gap between where you are and where your ideal is for that category. And the ideal does not need to be a 10. As I said before, the ideal can be a 0 or a 1. What's important and where you and your coach are going to focus on is the gap between the red line and the black line. Those are areas for growth. And those are the areas where you may want to focus a coaching conversation, you may want to develop further plans around, or you may want to explore, why am I not doing that well? Why can't I communicate effectively? Or why, you know, why can't I get my customers to really be committed to me and devoted to me as I am to them, right? The loyalty of customers, why can't I lock that in? So those are all topics, potential topics for coaching conversations. And the gap is really what your coach and you will start to talk about as you develop a greater awareness of where you are now and starting to see where you want to be. And there's a saying in coaching, turn your head. This wheel helps you turn your head towards the areas where you have needs or where you want to improve. If you're looking in one direction, you can't see what's in the other direction. So turn your head towards those directions where you want to go. Okay. And this wheel is going to take some more time with this after this webinar. If you want to refine it or redo it or just, you know, keep updating it. It's going to change over time. The other important thing to remember, we're going to do 3 exercises today. And what we just did with the wheel of the entrepreneur wheel is going to carry into the SMART goals and then into the headline I am exercise. So keep it nearby as we move through this webinar. Okay. So what is really important is some of the topics that we just threw out as the gap conversations. That coaching is a creative conversation, not a fixing conversation. If you look at the purpose of coaching, it's looking forward. It's creating your ideal future. And it is all about creating your future. Christine, next. Next. So people come into coaching and they think it's a therapy session. It is an intimate relationship with your coach because you're being completely honest and vulnerable. No one wants to say what's wrong with their business. Certainly, you know, we all try to hide that and put on our game face and go out and market like we're the, you know, like we're Amazon. You know, we're so huge and such a powerful company when in fact we're a small business, but you put on that game face and go out. So when you're speaking with your coach, you're opening up some of the drapes and letting them look behind the curtains, and a good coach will be able to explore what's there. So coaching is all about partnering with the client in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. Create your own future, take responsibility for it, and put the actions in place to get there. A good coach is going to mentor, but it's different than coaching. Coaching is purely focused on the client, focused on what they're saying and extracting the information. But mentoring is providing examples and helping the client by giving an example of a lived experience of the coach from which the client can draw their own conclusions and take from it what they need. We all have mentors in our life. Sometimes it's a coach, sometimes it's a colleague, sometimes it's a competitor, or just a close relationship. And you learn from that person. And your coach can also provide mentoring, but through their lived experiences. Now, I used to be a management consultant, and we were paid to give the answers. And I've had clients say, well, I'm paying you to give me the answer. So it's not consulting. A coach could be a consultant, and some consultants do coaching, but the purpose of consulting is really to give the answer and give the advice. In coaching, the coach prompts and helps the client figure out the answer and structure their own advice through their action steps. And then counseling and therapy. We all have wounds, right? Everything that is dysfunctional with our lives and our business boils down, you know, to love, security, and self-esteem are the three typical areas. You can boil any of your problems down to having those vacated needs. But coaching is not therapy, and it's not counseling. And a coach will have you turn your head away from the past and don't let that hold you back, and look to your future. Okay, next.
So the common business challenges, would just like you to spend a couple seconds here thinking about what is your challenge for today? What's the, and it might be listed here, it might be something else, but if you could put that in the chat, you know, what is keeping you up at night right now? Is it your business strategy, marketing, employees, sales? Let me see if anybody's got any in the chat. Sales. Yes, our example when we do the SMART goals is going to look around the idea of sales. I think one of the examples that I can give here in terms of the coaching that I've done, I had a client who came to me and she didn't feel like she was an adequate leader. So she was an entrepreneur, but she didn't feel like she was leading her employees adequately. So one of the exercises you can do, and I think this is a great exercise for anybody who's leading or managing people, is we had her look at all of the bosses she had in her lifetime. And we made a list of what a good boss was. What did all those bosses that she loved, what did they do? And then we looked at the second column with what did all the bad bosses do? What were the things that drove her nuts that she didn't want to be seen doing with her employees? And what happened there through several coaching sessions is we looked at, well, what on that bad list might you be doing but that you're not aware of? So coaching, part of coaching is making you aware, right? And she became aware that in her list of what a bad boss was someone who wasn't a good listener. So that was something that she chose to work on. So we had a couple of experiments that we created together that she went out in between coaching sessions and did with her employees to learn how to be a better active listener. So that's something that, you know, a coach can do with you, is sort of set up little experiments. You know, you don't have to come up with the end all be all answer. Maybe you come up with a few ideas and then you go out and experiment with them and see, do they work? Don't they work? And then you come back and talk to your coach about what worked and what didn't work. Do you have an example you want to share, Libby?
Yeah, we have a couple people who put out strategy and managing growth, and then also marketing. And it really touches on an example I have about positioning. I had a client who got in an investment banking firm owner who got in some regulatory trouble. And it was just a stupid mistake on her part, but the oversight board wanted to yank her dealer broker license. There's a technical word for it, but I'll just use that term. They wanted to revoke it and throw her out of the industry and close down her business. And it's like, wow, that is quite a big problem. But what we worked through was what else she loved and what she loved about her business and what she did not like about her business, and what parts of her job she liked and what she didn't. And we came up with a couple different options for her. There was a firm that was circling to buy her investment banking practice, and she started interacting with them on a merger. And there was also an opportunity for her to take what she loved in public finance and have a fairly high role in the public sector dealing with that. So it was repositioning her firm and how she was marketing herself while she adjudicated this regulatory issue, and bringing in clients under her possible future versus her, stressful present.
So I think when we look at the listing that folks have given us here, one of the questions you would want to ask yourself is, what would success look like when you're thinking about sales and marketing? What is that vision you have that you want to reach? So getting back to the idea of coaching, a lot of folks will ask us, what is the benefit of coaching? Coaching takes you outside of your comfort zone. We're going to ask you tough questions, and questions you may not have asked yourself. A coach understands your business. And why do they understand your business? Because you want to meet with a coach at least 4 to 6 times. That's the typical, in order to get any kind of outcome, you want to meet at least 4 to 6 times. But many clients will meet with their coaches for months, for years, so that coach becomes very familiar with your business. A coach acts as a resource and provides honest feedback. They're not afraid to correct you. So if they feel like you're going off a cliff, they're going to tell you you're going off a cliff, and they're going to be a little edgy with you, possibly. A coach also offers fresh perspective, and I found this in the years that I worked at the SBDC. Entrepreneurs are so involved in their business, right? And they're emotionally tied to that business. And sometimes what a coach will do, they'll turn your head. So you might be looking at your business this way, but they'll turn your head to say, how would a customer view this? How would your employees view this? How would your 5-year-old self view this? What's happening with your business? How would your future self look at this business? So it offers you sort of a different perspective, a different way of looking at your business. They help you to make ideas into reality. One of the things that you do with a coach after each session is you set action steps. So what are you willing to commit to before our next meeting? Everything that you do with a coach is confidential, just like when you meet with an SBDC client, consultant. You have an agreement with that coach that they're not going to take the information that you're talking about and, you know, tell others. You're surrounded with a winning mindset. Coaches come with the mindset of, you are strong, I can empower you, I want to inspire you. And oftentimes the client, it reminds the coach that they're strong, they're empowering them, and they're inspiring them. So it works both ways, right? It's a great relationship. And then according to the Coaching Institute, 80% of all of those who have gone through coaching in their survey felt that they had an increased self-confidence, and they also, 70% of them felt that it increased their performances when they had met with their coaches. So what we've done here is we've listed a bunch of coaching questions that are typical no matter what coach you meet with. These are the kinds of questions that they're going to ask you. And I like to keep these in my back pocket for when I feel like I'm stuck. So a coach oftentimes will get a client because they feel like they're stuck or they can't move forward with an action that they keep, you know, in their heads, they keep thinking, I want to increase my sales, I want to do this, I want to do that, but they feel stuck. So you meet with your coach, and these are some questions that they might ask you. For me, the question, is there something that you're willing to give up, start, or stop that could move you closer to this goal, is a very effective question to ask people. I have a lot of clients that will come to me, and I think this is true of entrepreneurs. There's just not enough time in the day. So they come and they say, I just don't have time for all that. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. And I think for the most part, that's probably true for entrepreneurs because you're wearing so many different hats. But when you look at this question, you sit down and sort of delve into it, because it's a big question, right? What I do with clients is, if it's around time, is I ask them to sit and create a time log for the next 2 weeks. And I've had clients do this many a times. So they write down every day what it is, how they spent their day. And then after 2 weeks, we take a look at that log. And we look at, what can we give up? Maybe there's something you can delegate to somebody else. And then we look at, what can we start? I've had clients who say, you know, one thing I want to start is organizing my day. 15 minutes at the beginning of the day, I just want to sit down, not look at emails, and think about, what do I want to accomplish today? And then we look at, what can you stop? So in that 2-week log, there might be things that aren't necessary. There might be meetings. We all go to meetings that are probably not as necessary as we think they are. So that's a great way to look at that question and think through a topic like time, and how do I find time?
Christine, I have one that is also what stands out for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Is there anyone or anything in your business that supports you? Because a lot of times as small business owners, we're acting on our own. We don't have, you know, a C-suite around us. We don't have a large network within the company of trusted advisors. Often in small business, of course, you're making the decisions yourself, and you know your business the best. So is there anyone or anything in your business that supports you? And you start looking at that. And I was working with a lotion manufacturer, and her business was just starting to take off, and she was so overwhelmed. And what we were able to do through working with this question is figure out that she belonged to enough industry groups, networking groups, that she viewed almost as social contacts and not business contacts. But when she was able to start looking at who she knew and who else was in those groups, there were people that could help her with her business, and actually moved on to support her. So indirectly, what she thought was just something for fun or something nice to be a part of ended up being one of her best support systems. On the coaching process, it really is the client who dictates what is being spoken about. And a coach will often start the conversation with, what you'd like to talk about today, or what's up, or what is on your mind, or what's your biggest challenge, whatever it may be, to get the client talking. And there's no set agenda, there's no set conversational point. It really is what the client is speaking about. And the coach coached just to the client, not the problem. Because we all have problems, but it's the mindset and it's the actions of the client that are going to resolve it. So the coach will ask the questions and the insightful questions to get awareness going. And once there's awareness, there's an ability to act on it. And that's where Christine mentioned, toward the end of a good coaching session, there are going to be action steps agreed upon. They may be very small, or they may be larger. You know, it could be, well, I'm going to return phone calls today, or I'm going to send out 23 emails today, whatever it may be. Or it might be something significant like, I am going to start reorganizing my accounting system so I truly know what my financials are. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but you get the action steps going, and then the accountability mechanisms are set up. Are we going to talk about this? You know, when are you going to have this done? How will you know it's successful? How will you monitor that you're getting it done? And Christine's going to lead us through the exercises that addresses exactly that.
There we go. So one of the things that we'll talk about towards the end is how do you find a coach? And one of the questions that you can ask a coach is, what is the methodology that you use for your coaching? And you may hear the word GROW. There's lots of different acronyms in the coaching world. GROW is one of them. And GROW really means looking at, you know, what G is goal. So what is it that you're looking to achieve over here? You know, what is your goal? What's your bigger vision for your business? And a lot of coaching is visualizing where you want to be. So that's the start, is what is the main goal here? And then we look at reality. Where are you now? What's working for you? What's not working for you? And then we look at the options in between, right? How do we get from here to here? What are those options? What would happen if we did nothing? What would a friend tell us to do? You know, or not a friend tell us to do, but what would we tell a friend? If we're looking to get if a friend was looking to get from here to here, what would we advise them to do? That can be a great coaching question, because sometimes it's easier to give advice than to give yourself your own advice. And then that's, you know, what is it that you're willing to commit to? So that's a typical coaching model that you'll find with any coach that works through the ICF training.
So we went through a lot of this on the coaching conversation. What would you like to discuss today? And then you walk right through it. And the biggest part of this, the biggest takeaway on this is, it's not linear. You're going to take one step forward and 2 steps back. You know, it's a dance, and not everyone advances on a straight path. So you can't compare your achievements to anybody else's, much like anything else that you do. It's you, it's your life. You have your own measures of success and your own steps forward. So don't look at a straight line. Think of it as zigzagging and taking steps back, because you're going to be revealing things about yourself that you didn't realize. All your blind spots will be exposed. And that's going to help clear the path for your growth and your success. But the success is up to the client, and it's up to you to act upon it and for you to achieve it. And the coach is going to be there as your biggest cheerleader, your booster, your sounding board, and kind of the bad cop when you need it. But the coach will help you achieve your goal, but it's up to you to really do it yourself.
So we're going to look at the next exercise, and I'm sure many of you have heard of SMART goals. And we always, for me, I have to be reminded that my goal setting needs to be SMART. And SMART goals are really setting a goal that is specific. It needs to be measurable. It needs to be attainable. It needs to be relevant and time bound. And what I've found over the years of working with entrepreneurs is that we oftentimes have a goal, but we don't make it specific enough, right? It's kind of like the idea of, I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. Great. When, how, by when, how much do I want to lose 20 pounds? Do I want to lose 30 pounds? When am I going to do that? That's my New Year's resolution every year. I'm going to lose weight, but I never put a time to it. So I'm always achieving the goal because I've never set a deadline for the goal, right? So when you're thinking about business, it's the same thing. Everybody wants to increase their sales. Everybody wants to do maybe more marketing or look for funding, but how do we set a goal that we're going to actually attain and hold ourselves to? So SMART goals are the way that you do that. And I'm going to give you an example of a SMART goal, and then we're going to have you work on a SMART goal yourself. So when you looked at your entrepreneurial wheel, some of you mentioned some of the things that you're keeping you up at night. That might be what your goal is going to revolve around. When you look at the goal, think about, what is it? Well, we need to increase our sales. Well, let's make that a SMART goal, right? Let's turn it into something that we actually have to meet and we can monitor and measure. So our goal might be to increase overall profit, because one thing we might look at as we're thinking about a goal, we can increase our sales all we want, but really we want to increase profit, right? I mean, increasing sales doesn't always relate to making more profit. Sometimes clients that I've worked with, they get more and more sales, but they're not realizing that they're not charging enough, right? So let's increase our profit instead of sales. Increase overall profit in 2022 by 12%, very specific. And then you want to talk about how you're going to accomplish it. This will be accomplished by increasing our price for product A by 2% and onboarding 2 new customers each month. Because obviously this company has looked at what the cost of 2 new customers will be and what the profit will be. And they've determined that by increasing product A by 2%, getting 2 new customers is going to lend them a 12% profit. That's a specific goal. So it would like to see you develop a specific goal for maybe something around your entrepreneurial wheel. And then you can ask yourselves these questions. Is this measurable? Yes, it's measurable because we've said it's 12%. How often will we check ourselves? So if we go through all of, up until the end of 2022, and then we pull our numbers and go, we didn't meet the goal. That's not going to be any good, right? We might determine that we're going to pull our profit loss statements every week, every month, just to make sure that we're monitoring ourselves. And then we can do like Libby's business says, we can pivot if we need to, right? Do we agree this is achievable? We could put a goal out here if we want to increase by 100%, but is that what's happening in your industry? Is your industry even growing? Is that number realistic? And does your sales team believe in that number? Because your sales team is the one who's going out and trying to achieve that number. So you've got to bring everybody on board to make sure that everybody believes that a 12% increase in profit is possible. Is this relevant to our business strategy? When we look at this idea, does this fit our mission and our vision? Is it possible to increase product A by 2%? Is that something that the market is going to withstand? And then did you give this goal a time limit? And we did. We said by the end of 2022. So that's a typical goal that you might set for sales. And now I would like to give you maybe 5 minutes to think about a goal. And if you'd be willing to share it, that would be wonderful. Does anybody have any questions while we're moving along here? No questions.
None so far, Christine. I asked in the chat box if anyone has ever worked with SMART goals before. We can get some feedback if it was helpful to them, but it is a great framework.
So we've got one person that's used SMART goals before. And a lot of times when you're working in a corporation, that's, when you do your performance reviews now, they're asking them to be SMART goals. I've seen a lot of that. Does anybody want to share their goal? Maybe we're still thinking.
So working on it. And Christine, I think this, like all of our exercises, are meant to be a starting point during this webinar. We want people to be present and focus on what we're saying, but have the tools to leave this so they can then refine and expand whatever they're working on.
Well, and that's worth mentioning. So, you know, at the end, we're going to talk to you about if you're interested in coaching, but this is one thing that you could be working on. And then if you need some extra help, we can definitely help you with that. Do we want to move along? Okay. And if anybody chooses to share, please put it in the chat because we'd love to see your goal.
So what is success through coaching? As we said, it's a different measure for everybody and for every situation. But there's not one single measure. Some of the benefits that we had mentioned previously are certainly some of the successes that people realize. You have to know in your heart what you want to achieve. You can refine it as you go along, but once you have an end game, that's what your success is. And there's big successes and small successes along the way. So you may be able to have better time management or have a clarified direction, but your big, huge success is being able to retire early, or, you know, adding a new business line, or securing a huge customer. So there's successes along the ways, much as there's failures along the way, but there's also big successes. And that's where your coach will keep your eyes focused on incremental steps and then the big picture. So we went through two of these exercises, and if you realize when we talk about past, present, and future, how coaching addresses the future, the wheel of life and the entrepreneur wheel are today. Your SMART goal are setting up action steps for you, and now Christine's going to take you into the future.
So here's the future, and this is an exercise I absolutely love. And I hope you'll take the time to do it when we're done with this webinar today. But it's called Headline I Am. And really it looks at what would you want the headline for you to be, or your business to be. So if you were thinking about the Pittsburgh Business Times and they were going to write an article about you today, what would that headline look like? What would you want it to say? If they came back and they wrote an article about you next year, what would that article say? And you can do this for 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years out. And again, this is sort of visioning, and this is putting into play where you want to be. And what do you want the Pittsburgh Business Times to report about you? Do you want them to report that you've had increased sales, or that you've opened more businesses, or that you've hired X number of people, or that you're an industry leader? You know, what are those goals that you have for your business, and how would they be written up? So you start with the headline, and then you end up writing the article. And this is something I used with at the Small Business Development Center with a lot of clients, because it led to doing this headline and doing this write-up of the article can also lead you then to writing your business plan, right? So this is the big picture. And now how do we step back and figure out how we get there? And that's putting the business plan together. So I think I have an example here. So my headline for today might be ABC company set to open in fall 2021. That might be the headline that I want the Pittsburgh Business Times to read. And then I would write the article, and I would answer the who, what, where, when, why, how in this. And it would really look at, what is it that I want? What do I want for my business today? And what legacy do I want to leave behind? And then next year, I might want the headline to read, ABC company hires X number of people and receives an SBA loan, right? And again, this is going to lead me into writing the article of, how am I going to get there? What's this article saying about what I did to receive an SBA loan or to hire these many people? And the third example is 3 years out. Local company, this is my headline. Local company receives honors and opens 2 more stores in Virginia and Ohio. So again, this exercise looks at the future, like Libby said. And now we've got to work backwards to figure out, in 3 years, if I want to open up 2 stores, What do I need to do today? What do I need to do 3 months from now, 6 months, all the way out to 3 years? So I hope you take the time to do this exercise. It's been really fun to see when I've worked with clients on this, to see what they put together. And obviously, if you're the only one reading it, you don't have to have, the best writing in the world. You don't have to be an editor. You just have to really think about what it is that you want and put it onto paper. And I do find that if you put your goals, you write your goals down, and I think it's been statistically proven, if you write them down, it's harder to change them, and it forces you to know what they are. Because when you're a business owner, a lot of times you have goals in your mind. I'm going to have sales of 200,000. I'd like to hire 3 more people. But as the months and the years go by, you can change those numbers in your head, right? But if you put it on paper, it's harder to change, and it's something you're forced to look at. So I would suggest that you do that.
So there's something in selecting a coach, and probably the most important part of it is, do you resonate with that coach? Do you speak the same language? Meaning, if you're a highly sensitive person, you may not want to have someone who's very direct. You'll end up in tears every session. Or if you're a very numbers oriented person, you may not want to work with someone who's very abstract, because you're not necessarily speaking the same language, and some of the examples won't come through to you as much as you need. But there's more black and white type of experience that you're looking for. Has the coach had the experiences or been in situations or coached enough clients so that they understand the challenges that you're facing in your business? And they're not going to be your business advisor, but they do want to have some foundational understanding and be of the right topic. For instance, we would not hire a health and wellness coach, to take a business out of bankruptcy. It's not the same kind of a coach. Or you may not hire a mindfulness coach if your goal, if you have more hardcore accountability type of goals. So have it resonate with the topic that you're trying to address. In business, you want a business coach. In life, you want a life coach. Much like you have a baseball coach, or you have a bowling coach, or you have a football coach, whatever it may be, specialized coaching topics and knowledge to bring to the experience for you. And then the International Coaching Federation is what ICF stands for, and it is the leading body for education and accreditation of coaches. And to get that, there is education, there's testing, and there's experience requirements. And both Christine and I have gone through the ICF education part of it, and we'll continue to grow in education with them and work towards the background and the experience required. And again, it's an approach, and coaches take different approaches, and some are more loose than others in the structure. And some coaches are actually trainers, not coaches. So they will offer classes, and you can ask questions, but that's not coaching, that's training. You can look at packages and pricings that meet your needs, such as one-on-one coaching, group coaching, which is often used in business, also used in masterminds and small groups or larger groups. Intensives, which are focused 4 hours, 8 hours at a time, or outright training, which is exactly what we all know training to be, classroom setting or Zoom setting, and you're actually learning from the topic. And again, if the coach resonates with you and your personality or what you want to achieve, it's worth the conversation. Many will offer a complimentary initial consultation to see if there's a fit, and then provide you some background materials and exercises so they can see if you're a fit to work with them, because it is a two-way street, that the coach has to be comfortable with the client and the client has to be comfortable with the coach.
So I guess right now we could take any questions if anybody has any questions. That's the end of our presentation. I want to mention to all of you that you are, because you're an SBDC affiliate and you've come to this workshop today, you have the opportunity to meet with either Libby or I for a one-on-one coaching session. And then we do have some coaching packages that are very affordable for small businesses that we could offer you as well. All you need to do is send me an email and let me know who it is that you would like to meet with, either Libby or I, and then we will arrange a time. And if you could, in your email, let me know what days and times work best for you. That would be great for Libby and I, so we can get back in contact with you to schedule an appointment. But you are able to come in for a one-on, and I shouldn't say come in, I'm so used to being virtual now. Come in means come to the Zoom room. Meet with us either by Zoom or by telephone, whichever you feel more comfortable with. But would love to hear from you. And Libby and I really enjoy working with businesses. I think both of us, you know, in terms of coaches, that's where we focus, is on coaching businesses and coaching leaders, and even emerging leaders. So that's really where our talents lie. There are personal coaches, there are health coaches out there. There are different kinds of coaches, but I think for Libby and I, we're more of the executive leader, entrepreneurial coach experts. So does anybody have any questions for us?
Jonathan put a link in the chat.
Yes, I'd also like to mention to our participants, please fill out the form evaluation. It's very helpful for us and for our speakers. I put it in the chat. And like Christine mentioned, please feel free to ask your questions and take full advantage of the opportunity of our two great speakers that we have here with us. I wouldn't expect us to be here until 1:30, but we do have the time blocked off until 1:30. So please feel free to ask our speakers anything that comes to mind.
Jonathan, I'd like to add, you know, if anyone's kind of thinking about maybe taking advantage of the one free coaching session, one way to use it that I think will be very helpful is if you've completed these exercises and you just want a starting point, or you need help completing the exercises or refining them, let us work with you for an hour and you know, get more out of it than what you have on paper right now. That's a good use of both of our times, and I think will be very powerful. Someone asked, there's a question.
I'll read the question. So do you work with partnerships, and how would that be different than coaching a single business owner? Do you want to take that, Libby?
The answer is yes. And it would be the equivalent of a small group coaching. And it would be figuring out, you know, what the goal or what the issue is in the partnership that wants to be discussed, and keeping the eye on the prize and seeing if the partners are aligned, and working through whatever challenges may be, let's call it perhaps communication or direction or strategy of the company, but treating it as an entity, but with two people contributing, because again, you're coaching the person, which is the partnership, and not the individual people.
Well, and I think too, when you look at partnerships, you'd be looking at values and what values each of you bring to that partnership. And sometimes there's a conflict in values. If there is a conflict, there might not even be a conflict. It might just be you want someone to sit down and help you with your strategies and your growth.
Yeah, maybe challenge is a better word than conflict.
Conflict. And I thought that we were only, I didn't realize the workshop was until 1:30. I apologize. We would have put a lot more material into it. We just wanted to leave some time for questions at the end, and to see if anybody wanted to share any of the exercises or anything that, you know, any of their learnings today.
Not a problem at all, Christine. You can always, I'm sure you'll be welcome back with open arms to, and Libby as well, to deliver this So we can just wait for a few more minutes to see if we do have any more questions.
That sounds good.
Good afternoon.
Leyland?
I'm not sure.
This is Rich Longo. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center. And again, I just wanted to indicate to all of you the extreme importance of this type of a resource. I'm a former entrepreneur and business owner myself. And over the years, there were times when, you know, was I on the right path? Was I doing the right thing? Having an independent, unbiased person to work with you, assess with you, and give you some unbiased and very, very realistic responses or suggestions is unbelievably beneficial. I have a coach who has been my coach for 25 years. And that relationship started as a former boss early on in my career and just has developed into that when I need that third party, when I need that unbiased, honest, and dead-on response, he is the person that I go to. So again, as a former small business owner, as the director of this Small Business Development Center, you have a wonderful opportunity to take advantage of these two incredible resources here. Bottom line, what do you have to lose? The only thing that you won't lose anything. You'll just be able to gain. So I just wanted to impart that piece of information.
Yes, thank you, Rich. We do have a question from Michelle, and it's nothing related to the webinar specifically, but she sent me a direct message. Can we access your, Christine and Libby, can you put your contact information in the chat so that people can shoot you an email if they do have something that comes up after we close out here?
Sure. I think too, what's interesting is when we're talking about coaching and we're talking about it, you know, it becomes very personal. So when you're setting goals, it's not necessarily something that you want to share in a group of people that you've never met before. So I think a one-on-one would be the best way to do that. And Libby, okay, good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hit return and it posted.
Perfect.
Great.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate all of you listening to us and learning a little bit more about coaching.
Wonderful. Well, thank you to Christine and Libby. And of course, thank you, Rich, for joining us too and offering your insights to the benefits of this as a former entrepreneur yourself.